Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nicholas Snow Show. This is going out live on April 6th at 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, where I am in California. But my guest today is actually in Paris, France, where it is 8 p.m. For everyone that's tuned in, you, like me, may have become aware of my guest, Bolu Okupe, who created headlines in January 2021 when he came out of the closet as a gay man. And his activism is not only rocking his birthplace of Nigeria, but it's also elevating the conversation about LGBTQI plus civil rights on an international scale. Among the headlines, MetroSource reported that out in Africa, Bolu Okupe is gay AF. As Bolo explained to me, his father is a very well-known politician in Nigeria who has often expressed homophobic and anti-LGBT sentiments. While Bolu came out while living in Paris, France, where they have legal protections for the LGBTQI plus community, his father, Dr. Doyin Okupe, a high-ranking conservative Christian Nigerian government official with 270,000 plus Twitter followers, stated, as quoted by the Premium Times, "My son is on a godly mission." LGBTQ Nation reported the headline, "Christian official says his newly out son will be a secret instrument of God to change gay people." Well, Bolu has a completely different take on that, and he's live with me in the studio. He's in the green room now, and I'm very much looking forward to bringing him on the show. I also want you to know, let me just cue this up for you, that here we go. I'm the director, the producer, the host. I do anything. So, okay. Oh, here we go. I want you to be able to see the, oh, I don't know. Oh, comments. All right. So we're already getting comments. And so if you're watching live, you can comment. Now, these are bilingual comments, and I cannot interpret them, but I'll put them back on the screen when Bolu is live. So if you're watching live and you ask a question or make a comment in your social media, I can feature them on the screen, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So for their support of my show, I want to thank DAP Health here in the greater Palm Springs area. They actually serve all of Riverside County, people from all walks of life. They've been keeping me healthy for 10 years, and I'm very much grateful for their support. Also, locally, 849 Restaurant and Lounge, longtime supporters of not only me, but individuals throughout the community. For those of you that have heard that Palm Springs is a fantastic global destination, you can save the date. We're far enough along in our recovery from the pandemic that the Pride organization has given me permission to let you know that you can save the date. And if you are traveling from out of town, know that the big events are usually the last weekend of Pride Week, in this case, November 5th through the 7th, 2021. If you're local and you're needing more connection, please check out the center cv.org, all sorts of opportunities to connect with a vibrant community. And surprise, PromoHomo.TV merch is now on Amazon. There's at least one piece of merchandise available in every Amazon store worldwide, with the exception of Japan, and I will add Japan as soon as Amazon allows me more products. Beginning in June of 2021, I'm having a special limited series between June and December. December 1st is World AIDS Day. We'll be looking at highlights from my book, Life Positive, A Journey to the Center of My Heart, which is a living powerfully with HIV memoir. And since I have a strongly international audience today, I want you to know that the music video, The Power to Be Strong, is on YouTube, subtitled in 21 languages. And depending upon the language, that particular YouTube video will link to HIV, AIDS, education, and resources in that language. I'm going to get really promo homo on you. If you are casting, I am an actor, and you can find my acting clips at PromoHomo.TV/actor. You know, this program is powered by the PromoHomo.TV superstars. I'm so excited because the superstars doubled in a day, and here's more about that. And when you become a superstar, you got to look out for that paparazzi. I really appreciate everyone that's given a little bit of their resources to help make this happen. It makes a big difference for me. And I appreciate your support. You do get a listing and a link at PromoHomo.TV when you sign up. And I'm going to be back with my special guests right after this.
And I just can't get enough of your energy. I just can't get enough. You're the light in the middle of the night, and I just can't get enough. Oh, 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 oh,
And now it's time for the main event. I'm excited to welcome to the show right now, Bolu Okupe. Hello, Bolu.
Hi. Firstly, I would like to say thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor for me to have you. I really appreciate you taking the time. I just want to thank you for your visibility and for taking the risk. I mean, that's why we've created shifts in the world around LGBTIQ plus equality because of people like you.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And it was definitely a huge risk because it's not, first of all, like even if I wasn't the son of anybody who's an African or Nigerian politician or public figure, it would be a risk anyway to come up because you never know what could happen. You know, your life could be in danger. Like even just because due to the fact that I live in France, there is still a risk because there are obviously Africans or Nigerians who are obviously still in France and who may feel, some homophobic sentiments and still target me. So, I like that you stressed that it's a risk because people don't understand that it is always a risk when you want to come out and, promote visibility. So, yeah, I do agree with you on that part.
Well, thank you. I would love for you to interpret these comments for me.
Oh, okay. So Papa Francais. Oh, he's trying to say we're not speaking French. So I think he's trying to say we should, but I don't think you speak French. So I
I
don't think
I
that's
don't,
maybe
but you can
possible.
say in France that I don't speak French.
Il
I
a
mean,
dit
you
que,
can let them know.
oui, il a dit que le Papa Français, donc on va continuer en anglais. Voilà.
And then,
Yes.
what does he say there?
Il y a pas de sous tig. He says you don't. I'm not sure. I think it's typo because I'm not sure what that last word tigrad means.
He
Tigrage.
corrected himself.
Tigrage. I'm not sure what he's trying to say.
Okay, well, I
anyway.
apologize that this show is in English, but hopefully you can find someone to interpret it for you. So, where were you born?
So I was born in Nigeria. I was born in Lagos, which formerly used to be the capital of Nigeria, but now it's not anymore. It's Abuja. So that's where I was born and raised up until the age of 11.
And how many siblings do you have?
Oof. So we are 9 in total. So my dad has 9 kids, but these are from multiple partners. But from my mother, I just have one brother. The rest will be step siblings. But we're 9 in total from my dad.
I'm a bit entertained by how many partners your father has had, and he's anti-gay. That's kind of rich.
Yeah, but it's funny because, and I'm not trying to say here I'm bashing or anything, but I feel like in Nigeria, it's a lot of people tend to cherry pick what they tend to cherry pick their morality. So it's fine if you want to go and and I'm not talking about him. I'm just saying in general. For example, if you want to go and sleep with 900 people, but they draw the line when it comes to the gay stuff. So you're right. It's quite rich.
Now, one of the things I want to do is I want to actually share something that I put on the layout of your episode at PromoHomo.TV. I'm not going to leave it full screen, but I just want everyone to know where they can find it. I am going to read what's there, and after I read this, Bolu, you can tell me if you relate to what this is said. So, Outright Action International is a really, really important organization, and they have resources at their website that explain what's going on around LGBTQI issues around the world. They fight for the human rights of LGBTIQ people everywhere. And
Okay.
they state, over the last decade, the state of LGBTIQ human rights in Nigeria has deteriorated. Same-sex relations are illegal throughout the country. Furthermore, 12 northern regions have adopted a form of Sharia law which makes same-sex relations punishable by death and criminalizes gender expression which does not correspond with gender norms associated with a sex assigned at birth. In 2014, the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Bill was signed into law. The bill criminalizes same-sex marriage, displays of affection between people of the same sex, and imposes a 10-year prison sentence on anyone who registers, operates, or participates in gay clubs, societies, and organizations. It also prescribes a penalty for people who know or abet same-sex relationships, thus criminalizing the friends and families of LGBTIQ people. In the wake of this law, LGBTIQ Nigerians have been subjected to arbitrary arrests, targeting, and extortion by police and government officials. Harassment and violence at the hands of private individuals is also high. Government officials, in this case your father, regularly make public comments denigrating LGBTIQ individuals, which contributes to the pervasively anti-LGBTIQ sentiment in Nigeria. Representatives of Nigeria at the UN were among the most vocal opponents to the establishment of the mandate of independent expert on sexual orientation and gender identity. Speaking on behalf of the Organizations of Islamic Cooperation, Nigeria asserted that sexual orientation and gender identity issues are a Western concept and would constitute an imposition on a large number of states. And once again, that's from outrightinternational.org. So I imagine you're aware of everything I just read.
Yes, I'm very aware of everything you just read. In fact, I actually do even remember the day when they passed the same sex bill that criminalizes homosexuals or even anti LGBT people. And obviously at the time I did know I was gay, and it was quite hard for me because this was the administration, the former government that my dad was working for. He was working very closely with the president, and I remember after this bill came, there was a lot of debates, a lot of like public discourse, and he was seen to be on many platforms like defending the bill, you know, stating how he vehemently agrees that I mean, I think people have seen his comments, so they know how he feels about all of this stuff. And I was just sitting there, like, me obviously being a gay man, having to process all of that. It was very, very difficult. But yes, I do know about all of it. I know a lot about what queer folks go through in Nigeria. And I like how you highlighted the fact that there's a lot of extortion, because a lot of it is honestly extortion. I think a lot of people do not really honestly care. Like, for example, let's talk about maybe the policemen who harass these gay people or queer folks. They may not even fully like care about homosexuality. They may just be indifferent. But the fact that the law has given them a mandate to be able to like harass them and extort them, and in a country like Nigeria, where most people, not most people, but I mean, if you say 70% of Nigerians live in poverty, which is factual, we can't say most people. So a lot of people who live in poverty, a lot of them would be policemen. So when they're in this kind of situation, and then you give them a mandate to be able to harass and extort queer people, unfortunately, they are going to do it. So what tends to happen is, like, whenever stuff like this goes down, maybe they catch somebody doing something, the first thing is to try maybe blackmail them or financially extort them or something. And it's really unfortunate how our lawmakers have literally given citizens the right to harass, extort, kill Nigerians, like members of your own country. And this is something that I'll never even fully understand. I think a lot of it boils down to religion, which has been such a toxic plague on the whole world, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm very aware of all of that.
I know that one of the conversations you sort of have to get into on a regular basis is specifically about Christianity, which is a driving force behind a lot of the homophobia in Nigeria. And yet you have talked about how you don't really believe in a heaven or a hell, and you have a different view of spirituality. What is your view of spirituality as you can articulate it?
Sure. Okay. So I think you asked two questions. So let me address the first one about the heaven and hell.
You're a good listener.
So thank you. I don't subscribe to heaven and hell. Even when I was a Christian, I no longer consider myself a Christian. But even when I was a Christian, I didn't really even subscribe to heaven and hell either, because I just felt like, how can a God be so all loving and all like welcoming and all this and that, but then would have the opportunity to send people to suffer and burn for eternity? Like, I think people don't understand what eternity is. Like, eternal burning, like eternal suffering, that's not a joke. Like, that's like, I can't even begin to imagine the kind of torture that would be. So you would have to have like a really, I'm gonna offend people when I say this, like, but that's fine. You would have to have a really psychotic God to even to want to send people to their souls to burn for eternity. That would never sit right with me. So no, I don't. Yeah, so, I thought you were gonna say something.
Well, I just want to say I prefer to go to hell because all my friends will be there.
Honestly, so no, I don't. I don't subscribe to the notion of heaven and hell. I think I'm okay. Now, to answer your first question, no, I no longer consider myself a Christian. I no longer subscribe to man-made religion. I do consider myself as still spiritual. That means I'm not an atheist, so I do believe in God. I believe there's a higher power or higher force. I don't know exactly what form God comes in, but I do believe, this is just my opinion, my beliefs. I believe there is some kind of creator of everything we see around us. I believe there is an entity like that. I don't believe in the Christian form of God, the way they see like God is a man in the sky. I don't subscribe to all of that, but I do believe in a God. So like, I'm still quite spiritual. I pray to God. I have my own faith, just outside of religion and Christianity, because I find religion, and this is not just to attack Christianity, even Islam, I find a lot of these religions to be very, very toxic. They're very, very toxic to gay people, to lesbians, to trans, even to women. Even to women, they're very misogynistic. I mean, you have a lot of Very, very toxicity in Islam when they relate to women and how they should do or what they should do or how they should be, how they should dress. Um, yeah, so for me, I just don't really subscribe to any of that anymore. I think religion has caused more harm in this world than good. So that's just not something. Yeah,
Well, I'm very much in agreement with you. My view of my sort of spiritual philosophy is that I honor any part of any teaching that celebrates the universal equality of humanity, and I
exactly,
reject any part of any teaching that, in order to be right, has to make other people wrong.
exactly. And so even just to bounce off that point, like I do about the heaven and hell, I do believe in an afterlife. I don't believe the afterlife is the way the Christians say it in the Bible is. I believe your afterlife may be dictated on how you've lived on this earth. Like for example, if you were a good person, if you were kind to others, if you were a good soul, you treated everybody well, you were just a good person. I feel like then you maybe probably have a good afterlife. There are many Christians, even if we're gonna like say okay, hell exists. Trust me, there are 60, 70, even more percent of Christians will go to hell because they're honestly some of the most nasty. Imagine going out of your way to actually harm or kill somebody because of their sexuality, and then you want to call yourself a Christian. Those things I've never been able to understand. Because even if you follow the religion, Jesus preached love and acceptance. He said, "Don't judge anybody else." Even in the Bible, you have commandments that says, "Love your neighbor as you would love yourself." In the Bible, it also says Jesus died for sinners. So imagine then you thinking like, because I remember when I came out, there was a popular rhetoric that was going on saying, "Oh, if you lived in so country, we would kill you, would make you a corpse," and these were Christians saying these things. I'm like, you actually think you can call yourself a Christian and like want and think it's okay to kill people? Like, I feel like honestly, religion has just turned a lot of people into just like lunatics, like
I
lunatics.
I agree with you, and religion. I'm very spiritual, and I believe that
Hmm.
there are many people among all the world's religions that are really good, decent human beings.
Of course.
But religion has done so much harm, and so many of our youth in the LGBTQI plus questioning everything are in families and churches and communities that teach them self-loathing and self-contempt, which is another reason why when someone like you takes the risk of being out and open and expressing your truth, that's very impactful.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's why I'm always gonna keep doing my best to like keep educating, keep spreading my message, keep visibility because um at some point things have to change eventually because like it can't keep going on like this. There's too much hate in people's hearts. And even yesterday I did have a conversation with a gay pastor. We had a great conversation on this topic of religion and homosexuality, and he had some very interesting points, some that I agree with, but just to me, I just feel like the fact that people can use certain religions and weaponize them against other people, it just will never sit right with me, and I will never subscribe to such things.
I I completely relate to that.
Mm.
Now, how old were you? How old were you when you became aware that you were gay? And how many years after that were you still in Nigeria, living in that toxic environment?
Okay, so I left Nigeria when I was 11 years old. I moved to the UK, but I didn't realize I was gay. I started to understand that maybe I could be a little bit different when I was about 10, because I remember this is when I had gone to
Did
an
you go? Did you go to France at the age of 11? Was that your
no.
destination
So
when you left?
at the age of 11, I went to the UK to study in,
Oh,
in
you just
England.
said that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So
no
you're the
worries.
good listener. I'm not. So
That's
thank you
fine.
for that.
Yeah, no. So but just before I left, I remember I went to an all boys boarding school, and I
Was
remember
that
like
fun?
it was. I mean, yeah, it was. It was actually quite fun.
You
Obviously
know,
not.
I could not pass up that
Yeah,
question.
I know. But I remember like there was this boy, a boy I had a crush on. But then I didn't really understand that I had a crush on him because I just thought, no, maybe I want to be around him often. I want to do this. But like now looking back, I understand that I really had a crush on this boy. But at the time you can't really understand that you're gay or whatever. So I think that's when I started like to understand that okay, maybe I have an affinity towards boys. But even at that, like I didn't fully understand that I'm into men until much later. Maybe until when I was like 16, 17, and that's when you start developing your urges, your sexual you start getting sexually active. That's when I realized, okay, I'm into men. But honestly, even accepting that, not even accepting, even realizing that at 16, it still took me another 3 good years to actually come to terms with it because I was trying to fight it so much. I remember I was like forcing myself to date girls, to sleep with girls. I was praying to God like often to like fix me, to turn me normal. I was forcing myself to think of girls. Oh my God, it's I know you can't blame people like me for going through that because when you grow up being hyper religious or in a hyper religious culture or family, and this is drilled into you that this is wrong. You're gonna go to hell. Blah blah. Blah. It's evil. That's what you believe. So you actually believe like there's something wrong with you. Like you're defectious. So yeah. So I would say I started to realize it at 16, but I finally accepted it. Like okay, I am a gay man when I was 19, and even when I accepted, I remember it's so funny. I just put I think I googled online how do gay men dress, and I saw lots of gay men in tank tops. So I put on a tank top. I got drunk alone, and I just went to like a gay bar, the closest one in my city. I was in Manchester, and yeah. So since then I had been like owning it, not owning it, but I had been. I've
And
been
I
gay.
imagine you were quite successful at that bar in your tank top.
Oh, if I begin to tell that story, like it was a lot. It was crazy, but it was fun.
I'm sure. Now, how did right? I want to revisit a little bit about your upbringing. So,
Yeah.
would I be correct in stating that Nigeria would be considered a developing nation,
Yes.
and that really the middle class there would be really small, the poverty level would be really large, and there would be a handful of people in the country that are very, very wealthy?
Your analysis is spot on. Very correct.
Okay, and that the people that are holding on to the wealth often do so fueled by corruption.
Yes.
All right. And were you part of the wealthy class in Nigeria? Because it's hard for me to think that your father could be where he is in the government without having that class. Correct me
I
if I'm
mean,
wrong.
no, to be honest, you are right. Yes, I would say I was. I would say I did grow up privileged compared to other Nigerian folks would have. Yes, you are correct.
Okay, and I'm guessing that you left to go to the UK with your mother?
So, when we moved to the UK, it was me, my brother, and my mom. But I think because we moved in around maybe this November, December, she really couldn't take the winter. Like she couldn't hack it. She couldn't handle it. So after like a few months of us being there, I think she then sent us again to another boarding school. It wasn't all boys this time. It was just a boarding school, and she moved back to Nigeria. So I would say like since from the age of 13, 14, I had been with my brother. Then he moved off somewhere else. So I think from about 15, 16, I'd been on my own. Yeah.
So you were on your own, but you were being financially supported by your family.
All through, yeah, up until my master's in France. Yes.
All right. Well, it is. Thank you for acknowledging your privilege. I know that there's a lot of privilege you don't have as a black person in this world. But it's important that that really fills in your particular experience. Were you, when you decided to come out, were you in any way still reliant on your family for your living, for your economic well being?
I was not, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to do it. And whenever people ask me, should I come out? Should I do this? I always make sure I tell them like you have to make sure you are in a stable situation. When I say stable situation, I mean like you have to make sure your living, your accommodation situation is stable, and you have a job and you can finance yourself. Because if you do come out and your parents are homophobic, they don't like it, and they decide to like cut you off or kick you out, then you're going to be in a worse off situation. So like I think when it comes to coming out, I think we still have to be wise about it. You can't just come out like if you're going to be in a worse situation than not. In my situation, no, when I finished my masters, I got a job, a decent job. That was able to like make me stay in France.
What
Pay
is
my
your
bills.
master's in?
So I did my masters in international management, international
And
management.
and you still are working in a full-time professional position now.
Yes, I work for an American company based in Paris. I don't want to say what it is in case the
Do they
homophobes start like,
have do
yeah.
they have progressive LGBTQI protections within that American corporation?
Um, I'm not gonna say that they explicitly do. I think there's not really been any conversation about that. But I think just in general, the culture of these kind of companies is to, I mean, to be diverse. So obviously there are many LGBT people where I work. So I think that would not even need to come up anyway. I don't know if you understand what I mean. I mean that wouldn't even need to be a conversation because most people who are in these kind of companies are progressive anyway. Um,
Well, it's there's part of it that's sort of amusing that you have become known worldwide in your coming out, and yet they still might not know about it at the office.
That's crazy, but you know why I think that's the case? Because I feel like my professional name is different from. No, my name is the same because you know how now you see Bolu Okupe. That's still my name, but like my name on LinkedIn or on other stuff is actually my full name. It's like mobile. I'm not gonna say the full name because
That's how you
they might
you
start to
don't
stalk me. But I do have a
you
full name.
don't you don't have to do this,
Yeah.
but promise me that when all of these converge and there is
Yeah.
some sort of outcome, you'll come back and talk about it.
Of course. Yeah.
Um, so how did you end up moving from the UK to France?
So I had finished my bachelor's degree in the UK, and I was, I've always been interested in. I would not even say I've always been interested in activism or humanitarian work, but I've always been interested in like doing more for development in the African region, and most especially West African region, which is where I'm from, because Nigeria is in West Africa. And if you look at just West Africa by itself, the two most spoken languages there are English and French. Most of the countries actually speak French. There are more French-speaking countries than there are English-speaking countries. Um, so that's when I was like deciding on what I want to do for my masters or where I want to go. France became the only logical option because I think I did want to learn French at the time and add a second language to my specifications. And just because of my ambitions, like I just mentioned, I decided French would be the best second language for me to learn. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I decided to come and do my master's degree in France because I feel like if you want to learn a language, it's much better if you go and live where they're speaking it because that will force you to become accustomed to it. And you know,
And you've been
yeah,
in France since then.
I've been in France since then. Yeah.
Okay. Have you spoken directly to your father since? I want to use the term. I hope it doesn't offend you. Since the shit hit the fan, that's what
Well, I mean,
that is a form of expression I know that at least we use in the United States.
it's not offensive because honestly, shit did hit the fan. But we have spoken. Yes, we have spoken since the initial situation. But there was another second situation that you may not be aware about. We haven't spoken since then, but we've spoken since the initial one, and we cleared everything up, and it was actually a good conversation. I don't want to go into too much on what was said, but it ended with him saying, "You know what? At the end of the day, I wish you all the best, and I wish you success in your life, and I hope God blesses you." So that was a good, you know,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
that's as good as most people can even dream to get, especially with like homophobic parents. So I think that was great. But then there was another situation again that happened a few weeks ago, and now it's like we're back to square one. But
Is this breaking news?
it was
Are you
not
gonna
anymore.
Are you gonna
No,
break it here?
I mean it already broke a few weeks ago. So he was on a platform doing an interview, and then I guess he doubled down, saying he cried when he knew I was. It was a lot.
Oh, he
So
wept. He
yeah. Oh, you,
wept.
you saw that? I
The
think.
headline I put it at the top of the show.
Yeah, so then that happened a few weeks ago again. So now I'm just like, but I thought okay, I thought we were past this. But
Well,
well,
uh, and is he's still a public figure in office, yielding that sort of influence
no,
right
because
now?
in Nigeria we don't have a two-party system, but it kind of is like a two-party system because there are only two parties who switch power. So in the last elections, his party actually lost. So no, they are no longer in power anymore.
Um. Okay then. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the topic of racism. So, even though you left Nigeria at a young age, how does racism show up in Nigeria from your understanding? What are
Um,
ways that racism manifests in Nigeria?
when you talk about a country like Nigeria and racism, it wouldn't be the racism as you would talk about maybe like in the UK or the USA or France, where you have policemen harassing and killing white policemen harassing and killing black people. For example, the George Floyd or Breonna Taylor situation. In Nigeria, it's a little bit different. I think it shows up more in the form of colorism. So whereas there are a lot of, and this affects
Is there more privilege for light-skinned black people? Is
now.
that what you mean?
I wouldn't say. I think colorism is global. So light skinned black people, I think, on a global scale,
Oh,
will always,
light-skinned everywhere.
yeah, will always get more privilege. But I think in this, and this affects women more. But I think you have a lot of women nowadays who feel like they need to lighten their skin and lighten their complexion to the point where they look racially ambiguous or even white to be successful.
I I lived in Thailand for five and a
Mhm.
half years, where one of the best-selling products was skin whiteners.
It's the same in Nigeria. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I think I would say the racism shows up more in that form there. I don't think there can ever be explicit racism on a cultural basis because you do not have that many. There are obviously a lot or a few, but you do not have that many white people in Nigeria as in South Africa to be able to like racially oppress us there because I mean the country is still majority black. Obviously, there's still a lot of colonial BS that happens. But I mean, I think that could just be attributed to like I said, modern day colonial slavery, not really racism. I would say Nigerians will experience racism when they leave Nigeria and go to Europe or the USA, but not really in the country.
Okay, so have you
Yeah,
ever spent time in the United States?
I have, yes. And I think I'm gonna come again this year at some point.
And what were you on a vacation? Were you here for an extended period of time?
No, I was on a vacation to visit some family and to go to Disneyland in Florida, so that was fun.
Okay. So, tell me about your experience of racism in the UK and in France.
Whew. In the UK, I can't really say that I experienced racism that much. I think because I was still quite young, a teenager. In hindsight, maybe I did, but I didn't know or I wasn't aware because I didn't know how to process if that was racism. So I might have, but I would say my eyes became very open to racism when I got to France. I got to my 20s and I started living here. As a 20-something-year-old man. I would say I have experienced racism here, and I think I would say racism in France is less like it is in the USA. I feel like in the USA it's very, very blatant in your face. There are people who are maybe racist, but the thing is, they will just tell you to your face and they will say like "f you, you this or you that." But in France, it's less so overt, and it's more like systematic or like a classist system. Like, let me try and break it down. Um, if you're black, and this is not the case for everybody, because I'm a black man living in France and I have a good job, and there are many people like me. Obviously, I'm not the only privileged black man having a good job here. There are many others who are not privileged and have great jobs. But in France, it's a sort of a thing where if you're black or African, you are kind of expected to do certain jobs, like maybe the menial jobs, like the garbage collector, the cleaners, and also there's sort of like a very, very soft cap on how far you can advance in the business world or in the corporate world, because in the USA you have so many black executive CEOs and blah blah blah, but in France I can only maybe name you a handful. So there is still this like soft cap. So I would say the racism here, it's more like it's less overt in your face. Nobody is going to call you the N word on the street. Nobody's really going to do that. I mean, police still harass black people, but I think that's global. But like I said, it's less overt and more like systematic, if you know what I mean. In my personal experience with racism, I have experienced racism a few times. I remember there was a time where I was looking for an apartment. This is when I finished my studies, and I had a woman on the phone. And when I got there, she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't give my house to Africans." And and that was the first time somebody actually said that to me.
She came right out and said that
Yeah,
in
she did.
France.
She gave no Fs. She didn't. And I was like, wow. I was like,
And I guess there are no laws that prohibit that in France.
nobody's gonna do anything about it. Nobody's gonna do anything about that. Like, yeah, unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
but
Well,
the thing is, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's fine, but it that's just what it is. You have to be able to expect that when you're in places like this. Yeah.
Well, another reason I want to thank you, Bolu, is that it's been my vision for my network
Hmm.
to be having this type of conversation on a global scale about these issues because
Hmm.
I know you know about ethnocentricity, where people view the whole world through their own experience, and I think that that's especially problematic in the United States. And then
Yes.
there's all sorts of layers on that. I think what's really powerful about you is the intersectionalities that you bring to your life experience. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is that, you're a black man and you're a gay man, but you're also an immigrant, and you've been spending most of your life as an immigrant, 2/3 of it.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience of anti-immigrant sentiment, and has it gotten worse recently?
It's definitely gotten worse. But I would say my overall experience, you know, if I'm just gonna be very, very honest with you, I don't think I've had the worst. Even though I am an immigrant, as you said, I don't think I've had the worst immigrant experience because even when I immigrated to the UK, I was still financially able to stand on my own 2 feet, which is not the case for most immigrants. Most immigrants do not have those same options, and most immigrants do immigrate because they're looking for better situations overseas than in their home countries. They're escaping poverty. Some of them are escaping being
There,
targeted.
a lot of people immigrate because they have no choice.
Exactly.
You emigrated because you had many
Exactly. I had
choices.
many choices. So I just want to make sure I'm not being delusional. I understand that
Well,
my situation is not the same as other immigrants. I
mhm.
mean, obviously, I do have my own experiences. It's not the same as sorry, it's not the same as other immigrants. Because, like I said, those ones maybe will be living in poverty and have to depend on the states whatever countries they're immigrating to for financial aid. I think this is what builds a lot of the frustrations people have for immigrants because they feel like, well, you're just coming over here and living on welfare, blah blah blah. You're not contributing. When they don't realize, like a lot of immigrants are some of the most hardworking people. They're really just trying to look for a better opportunity or a better future. And I feel like a lot of people who complain, if they were in those positions, they honestly would do the same thing. So that's why I don't understand all the pushback towards it. Now, in my own experience, no, I have not really had such bad experiences with immigration because even when I moved to the UK, I was in a good school, I was in a decent school, I'd been in university, so I've always been in my little bubble, and it's only now, like in the last few years, I'm starting to realize a lot of things, like on a socioeconomic scale, which is what drives me to speak out more because I do realize I've lived a privileged life, and at some point, I want to maybe try and give back as much as I can, because I understand that my privilege obviously has an effect on other Nigerians, living in worse situations. But and to answer your final question, has it gotten worse? It definitely has gotten worse. I think I would expect something like this whole immigrant or even racism discussion to be improving over the years, but I see it getting much worse. I don't know if it's getting worse or we just have the social media and the easy access of information to see it more clearly. But like I think it's actually getting a little bit worse, especially in France. You have a lot of situations where it's like the police are harassing immigrants or doing this and that, and I don't think it was like that some years back. So I think a lot of the tensions globally are rising, which is shocking. You would expect it to be like now that we're also like culturally diverse and interconnected. You would expect it to be different, but I think with the rise of actors like Donald Trump, Marine Le Pen was a French presidential aspirant who was saying that if she won she lost, but she was saying if she won the election, she would send all the immigrants back home. So I think with the rise of these like actors who say these like provocative things and like who light these fires of racism and hatred in people's hearts, I think that's what's pushing these people to become more hateful. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I know, I totally get it. Now, when I lived outside of the country for 5.5 years, it was during the second term of the George W. Bush administration,
Yeah.
and when the people would say, "Well, where are you from?" And at the time, I would say, "I'm from America," but don't hold it against me. Now, I agree that so much of my privilege and the reason I have a life is that I'm American. I'm not bashing America, but America has made some effed up choices, and but then President Obama was elected while I was still living abroad, and it was such a relief
Mm.
to then be able to have pride in identifying as American abroad. I say this because I haven't been outside the country during the shit show that has been the last 6 years of American politics. Hopefully, we're involved in a major correction. I'm wondering, has it been sort of like you have been watching a horror show when you look at the United States? How has watching the United States from your life experience in abroad been for you?
I think at the beginning, yes, it was like watching a horror show, but I think now, like I mentioned before, with the ease of access of information, social media, you have Twitter, Reddit, where everything is available at the snap of your fingertips. I think everything has now become so normalized. I think we've become, unfortunately, desensitized to a lot of these things that are happening. I feel like because we now see a lot more cases of police brutality, killings, we've become desensitized because at the beginning it would be like such a global outrage, like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. But when you keep seeing these videos, it's like, oh, okay, well, okay, they killed another black man again. And that's so horrible to say, but that's really how it's becoming. We've actually become very desensitized to these things. So at the beginning, yes, it was a horror show. Even when Donald Trump won the election, I think I'll speak to myself. I think everybody thought that was kind of like a joke until he actually won. It was like, oh wow, okay. I think nobody really expected it, and even just going back to the whole Capitol storming or whatever that happened.
Insurrection, the attempt
Insurrection.
to overthrow the
Yeah.
government of
I
the
was just
United
like,
States.
what am I watching? But you know what? I think that's also clarified the fact that you know what we see, or what our impression of people is not reality. I don't think these people just woke up one day and decided to be like that. I think they've always had these things in their mind or in their hearts, and I think they just needed somebody to rally them to be able to express it. I think they've always been that way. I don't think they just woke up one day and decided, oh well, let's be capable of doing this. I think they've always been like that, and then they had a yeah.
Well, what happened was so many people that would ordinarily stop and speak against the hate speech and the atrocities and the marginalization and the
Yeah,
division that was being sowed chose not to because of their own personal agendas and hunger for power.
yeah, exactly.
One of the things I forgot to talk about in the period of questions about your experience of racism is your experience of racism in the gay community.
Um, Racism in the gay community, that's a whole conversation. I would say I have personally never really experienced racism in the gay community because um,
That you know of.
that I know of. Yeah, no, that's just my own personal. Maybe yeah, that I
Because,
know of.
but
Not
how many, for example, if you're on an app, how many
yeah,
people don't even look at your profile because of the
exactly.
color
Or
of your skin
yeah, or
or
they put
say in their own
yeah,
profile,
no blacks, no this, no
right?
that. And I think this is why normally I tend to maybe go for, and I don't know if I do this on purpose or it's a form of self protection, but I tend to go for maybe other. I'm not racially closed on dating. I can date whoever, whoever pleases me. But I think I have, like, if I just look at my previous relationships and boyfriends, they have pretty much all tended to be black or people of color, and I think that's just because maybe it's a form of self protection from exactly what you're talking about, because there's a lot of racism in the gay community, and I feel like people forget that just because you are an oppressed minority, that does not mean you are not able to oppress another minority. There's definitely lots of minorities who oppress others, given the power dynamic to be able to do so. And I've definitely seen things on Grindr like no blacks, no this, no that, no Asians. Definitely, I've seen these
No
things.
fats, no
No fats, no
femmes.
femmes. And
I'm living with HIV, and
yeah,
I'm very public about it. And even in living in one of the gayest cities on earth, I can still experience stigma against me as a
of
person living
course,
with HIV.
of course.
Do you now you are a fitness model? That's one of the
Yes,
things that you do, and
yes.
a lot of what you do in your social media is celebrate your body and your physicality. And many people enjoy that. I would put myself among them. Uh, uh, and frankly, as a journalist, I
Hmm.
think it would be inappropriate of me, for example, to have used those photos in this show if you also provided photos of you in a suit and tie and stuff like that. I mean,
Mm,
you did provide some photos of you wearing clothes. And to be honest, I chose the same sort of images that you often put out because I knew that it was good marketing. But
yes.
I wanted to know, do you feel objectified as a black man?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I think this objectification is, it's something that like benefits black men but harms black women. And I say this because I feel like, and this is not my opinion. This is just because I do study things on a very socioeconomic scale. Like I said, I think that dark skin darker skin by society is viewed as, masculine or, strong or whatever. And like I said, this benefits black men because a lot of what happens, a lot of people who are not black tend to now fetishize black men because of this. That's why you have all these examples in gay porn, like, oh, the black top or the this or the BBC or
The
whatever,
fetishization
Yeah, the fetishization, yeah,
of black men.
exactly. Which obviously indirectly affects black women negatively because this like fetishization of dark skin will now make you look at black women as more masculine, which is a big problem on its own. But yes, definitely, there is some objectification that I definitely experienced. But this may sound very shallow, but it's not something that I would just go on and be complain about because I think it has in a way also worked to my benefit. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying because let's be real.
I know. I get it. I get it. And one of the reasons I want to talk about that is because I frankly think one of the reasons your story got international headlines
Yeah.
in the gay press, which is predominantly run by gay white men still,
Yes.
is because of how you present as this, Hollywood superstar black hunk. And now it's not to take away from all of the significance of what you're doing, but I believe that that's probably one of the reasons that your story went viral the way that it did.
I think you're absolutely right. And one thing that we can't delude ourselves from is the fact that sex sells, right? Sex does sell. And if I'm seen to be somebody as desirable, and like you said, the people who are running these news outlets are white gay men, and they look at me desirable, I think obviously they will jump on the story, and they will find it appealing. So you're definitely absolutely right. I'm not even gonna disagree with you on that because I'm aware of it. I'm very aware of like that whole desirability privilege that I also have as a black gay man who's also muscular.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, do you feel? I know you've done some blogging about how many trolls there are now on your social media. Have you gotten any death threats? And if so,
Of course.
do you think any of them are serious? Do you feel like you're in danger based upon your religious views and the conflicting views among the powerful religious bodies in Nigeria and elsewhere?
I've definitely gotten death threats, a lot of them. I think most of them are probably not as serious as they would make it out to be. I think a lot of the people who are making these death threats would not really actually do anything. I think they just like to troll or say those things on the internet. As far as if I'm in danger, currently I would say no. But if I was to go to Nigeria, for example, if I wanted to go to Nigeria this Christmas to see my family, I probably would have to get some security, and that's just being very honest because you never really know. There are really some religious people.
Well, under Nigerian law, couldn't you and your family be arrested?
I think no. You have to be caught in the act, right, of doing something.
Well, the laws, as I read it, talks about if you are known to support someone in this lifestyle, and you are now this out Nigerian activist, and your father is a famous politician who've talked about it. So I guess he can't publicly support you. I know it's complex.
No, yeah.
We're in the last 5 minutes of the show. Frankly, we could have a whole master's program that focused just on the topics that we've touched upon in this particular interview. There's so many of them. A lot of them are very deep issues. You mentioned sex sells, and I'm putting up all of your social media so people can find them. And I see that you have an OnlyFans account. And the projection of OnlyFans is that it's basically private porn channels. Now, because I haven't been to your OnlyFans account, I don't know what you do on that account. What do you do on that account?
So no, I don't post porn on OnlyFans. And that's not to say I have an issue with sex workers. I think there's nothing wrong with I don't either. Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with sex work. It's your body, it's your choice to do whatever you want. I just choose not to post nudity or explicit pornography because it's not something that I would anyway want on the internet. So basically what I do is I used to have very, very because I'm a fitness model, I do sometimes take very erotic type of pictures. Sometimes implied nudity, not full on implied nudity, maybe from behind or whatever. So what I've done is I've moved over, and this is just me being strategic and trying to monetize whatever I can. So
Well,
I used to,
go for it.
honestly, I used to have those kind of pictures on my Instagram. So what I've done is I've cleaned it up and I've moved those kind of pictures and videos to my OnlyFans. So I mean, all you would see on there is like just quite some erotic pictures or videos,
Okay.
content. Nothing, no full on nudity or pornography because I'm just not really into that. And I also do run it as like a couple channel. So like if I maybe I'll post relationship blogs or couple blogs of me and my boyfriend or whatever.
Okay. How long have you
Yeah.
been with your boyfriend, out of curiosity?
It's very recent.
Oh, okay. Well, keep us posted.
Yeah,
Maybe you
there's
can.
also, yeah.
And if you've been on your 1 year anniversary, you can come on the show together.
Yeah, we can do a 1 year update.
Right. Is there anything that you would like to say that we haven't talked about?
I think we've covered everything, and I would just like to say, like, guys, before I came out, and not even before I came out, sorry, but quite a few years ago, I really did used to live in a bubble, and when I say live in a bubble, you just all you see is everything around you and your own perspective, and you don't really look at the bigger picture. So I would say, like, sometimes maybe let's try and like get out of our bubbles because there's really a lot of things that are happening in this world that you may not know about, and that you can also assist or help out maybe with your voice, financially, with your aid. There's a lot of like queer African folks, Nigerian, Ghanaians who are struggling, and if you can do anything to help them, I think you should try and look into doing it. Everybody contributing to making the world a better place will definitely be very much appreciated. So I'd advise people to maybe try and like, if you can, and if you're in a position, if you are in a position to, excuse me, try and like maybe just assist. If you can assist other people, like support the queer folks who are in less privileged positions than you are, being American or European, the ones who are African, and it does go a long way. It does definitely go a long way.
Well, and I want to just give a shout out again to Outright International. And if you go to outrightinternational.org, I'm pretty sure that's their website. They're an amazing global resource that is doing so much important work around these issues. Bolu, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I'll hope that you will come back again.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure, and I think this was a great conversation. So I would love to be back in the future.
Thank you. Hang tight because I want to speak with you briefly after the show.
Sure, I'll be right here.
Okay. And to all of you at home, this is an example of what I am seeking to do with PromoHomo.TV, connecting the circuitry of humanity by creating programming for LGBTQ plus everyone. Thank you for joining.
And I just can't get enough of your energy. I just can't get